Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a really busy airport, Fiumicino in Rome. It's December 17th, 1973, packed with holiday travelers. You know, the air is buzzing with that whole promise of the jet age, but then, bang! 12:51 p.m., it all just erupts into chaos. We're diving into the largely forgotten massacre there.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, or maybe chilling, is how this whole thing started. You had 5 Palestinian terrorists. They opened fire in the terminal lounge, and then almost immediately, they firebombed Pan Am Flight 110, the whole initial attack. Just 90 seconds. It just, it starkly exposed this catastrophic flaw in security thinking at the time.
How so? What was the flaw?
Well, the focus had always been on stopping weapons getting onto the planes, hijackings, But this attack showed the vulnerability of the entire public space, the terminal itself. It was a fundamental shift in how security had to operate.
Right. It wasn't just about screening passengers at the gate anymore. It's the whole environment. So this wasn't just a hijacking attempt then.
No, not initially. It was more like an invasion, really.
Yeah.
And it kicked off this 30-hour odyssey of terror.
Okay, so let's talk about the immediate impact, the human cost right there at Fiumicino.
It was horrific. The sources we have point to 32 people killed right there on the ground, 2 in the terminal itself during the initial shootout, and then 30 aboard the Pan Am plane, the Clipper Celestial, from the firebombing.
30 people on the plane, just awful. Can you give us a sense of who the victims were?
Yeah, I mean, it brings it home, doesn't it? Victims included the Pan Am purser, Diana Perez, a catering worker named Lambert Tanunga. Even the wife of the Pan Am captain, Andrew Urbeck, Bonnie Urbeck, was killed. And then there were 14 American Aramco employees, 4 Moroccan officials. Just ordinary people caught up in it.
It really drives home the randomness and the horror. You mentioned the speed earlier, 90 seconds for that initial attack on the plane.
Exactly. Terrifyingly fast. There's this account from the flight engineer, Kenneth Frang. He said he was just knocked flat by the first grenade hitting the galley. And he realized later the whole assault on the plane took maybe a minute and a half. One of the terrorists actually stood blocking a rear exit, trapping people inside.
Unbelievable. And the chaos didn't end there. You said only 41 minutes passed between that first shot and a hijacked Lufthansa flight taking off.
Just 41 minutes. It's astonishing, really. They stormed Lufthansa Flight 303, tragically killing an Italian customs agent, Antonio Zara, in the process. And that's when this mad odyssey, as it's been called, really began. 30 hours across the Mediterranean and Middle East.
A 30-hour ordeal. So what happened during that? Where did they go?
It was chaotic. They flew to Athens first. There, they demanded fuel and made threats. When Greece initially refused their demands, they killed a hostage, Domenico Ippoliti, and just threw his body onto the tarmac. Horrific.
God, that's brutal. So Greece eventually let them go.
They did. They refueled the plane and let it depart. But this whole sequence, it just highlighted the complete lack of any unified global response back then. Lebanon and Cyprus flat out refused landing permission. Syria apparently offered some aid, but eventually it was Kuwait that ended the standoff. They offered the terrorists free passage, basically, let them go in return for the last 12 hostages.
Free passage? So they just walked away?
Essentially, yes, at that point. It really showed how, individual countries acting in their own perceived self-interest could send a really dangerous message.
And who are these terrorists? Did any group claim responsibility immediately? That seems unusual for such a major attack.
Right. It was strange. No immediate claim, which often hints at, maybe state backing.
Yeah.
And investigations later, particularly through this new intelligence sharing group called the Club de Bern, which included agencies like Mossad and the CIA, pointed the finger.
Okay, so who was behind it?
It was identified as a joint Libyan-Palestinian operation, specifically a group called the Arab Nationalist Youth Organization for the Liberation of Palestine, or NYLP. And the intelligence suggested they were operating under the direction, or at least with the strong backing, of Libya's leader, Colonel Muammar
Gaddafi. And what was his game here? What was the motive?
Well, Gaddafi was known for using Libya's oil money to fund various militant groups. The thinking is he saw this massacre as this kind of violent veto, a way to blow up the fragile peace talks that were happening after the Yom Kippur War just a couple of months earlier, disrupt diplomacy with violence.
So a state-sponsored act of terror to derail peace. And what about justice for the victims? You said Kuwait gave them free passage. Did they ever face trial?
That's one of the most infuriating parts of this story. No. They were never brought to trial in a Western court. Kuwait handed them over to the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization. And from there, they were apparently just quietly released sometime later.
Quietly released after killing 34 people. Why?
Well, Part of it seems to have been Italy's fear of reprisals. There's long been talk, though never officially confirmed, of something called the Lodo Polo, this supposed secret deal where Italy allowed Palestinian groups some freedom of operation within Italy as long as they didn't attack Italian targets.
Yeah.
So prosecuting these guys might have broken that understanding if it existed. The result is, even today, the actual names of the 5 terrorists aren't officially known.
Wow. So a horrific attack, state sponsorship, a terrifying odyssey, and then no justice. What's the takeaway then? What did we learn, if anything?
Well, despite the horror and that lack of justice, Fiumicino really was a brutal wake-up call for aviation security. It fundamentally changed things.
How so?
If you look at the bigger picture, this attack was a direct catalyst. It pushed the international community to finally get serious about comprehensive aviation security standards. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, adopted what's known as Annex 17 just a few months later, in March 1974. That annex basically laid the groundwork for the global security measures we see today. It forced everyone to shift from being reactive to proactive, and it underlined why sharing intelligence globally was so critical.
So it did have a profound impact on safety, even if the event itself isn't well remembered.
Exactly. It tends to get overshadowed maybe by other events in Italy during their years of lead, or by other big international terror attacks. But you have to remember, for the families of those 34 people who died, like Antonio Zara's brother, the questions, the lack of closure, that never goes away.
That's true. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes you wonder, in our world today, with so much information constantly flying at us, what other crucial lessons from the past are we maybe forgetting? Especially the ones like this, the ones without neat endings or clear accountability. What other forgotten events might still hold keys to understanding the challenges we face right now?